Hello friends, welcome to SY Academy. In this video, we will going to touch upon the Scrum events. And again, the lecture is dedicated to PSM 1 exam and I will discuss very exam oriented things here. So let's begin. So friends, there are some events in Scrum and these are formal opportunities to inspect and adapt. Okay, inspect and adapt. Let me remind you once again that inspection, adaptation, and transparency are three pillars of Scrum. Also, they are also called as three pillars of empiricism. Okay, so inspection and adaptation they provide you an opportunity to do those things using these events. Let's discuss what are these events, friends. Let's discuss one by one. Uh, First is sprint. Okay, sprint. And sprint could be, what is sprint? I mean, sprint is something that you define a time period, and in this time period, you are going to complete these number of tasks. So this is a sprint. And I told you in the previous lecture that there are artifacts also. Artifact sprint backlog. Okay. So you need to complete sprint backlog. And again, you need to complete, but it is not mandatory, right? It is not mandatory to complete all sprint backlog items. You need to keep these things in mind. There is a possibility that some of the things are not getting completed. It does not mean that your team is bad or good, okay? If you are completing all the tasks, still it does not mean that your team is good. It could be that your team is not taking any risk, right? These things you need to keep in mind. And every sprint is having sprint goal. That also I told you in the previous lecture. Sprint goal, right? There is a commitment sprint goal, and sprint goal cannot change. Sprint backlog can change. What is the time period or time boxing of this sprint? See, there is time boxing of every event. Time boxing. Okay, you need to keep this thing in mind. What is time boxing? It is the maximum amount of time which will be taken by that event. Maximum. You cannot take more than that, but you can take lesser than that. Okay, and what is the maximum time period suggested by Scrum Guide? It is 1 calendar month. This is the English which is written there. 1 calendar month. Usually, I've seen in the organizations that they use two weeks sprint. Okay, 2 weeks sprint is the general criteria, and in a sprint you manage risk, you deliver increment. Right? I hope you remember increment. If not, then please see my previous lecture. Then the second event. Let's discuss the second event. Second event is the sprint planning, where you do planning for your complete sprint. It is the first event of every sprint. First event. Okay, you need to keep these things in mind. And this is the event which initiates your sprint. Okay, again, what is the time boxing for sprint planning? It is 8 hours for a 1 month sprint, but it is usually shorter for other sprints. Again, check my words. 8 hours for 1 month sprint, but it could be lesser for uh, smaller sprints. Okay, it could be lesser does not mean that it is mandatory. Okay, so there is a possibility that your sprint is of 2 weeks, but your team has decided to keep 8 hours sprint planning. This is a possibility. Okay, since I told you that sprint or scrum is self-managed, so teams have to decide it on their own, but it cannot be more than 8 hours. If it is going more than 8 hours, then Scrum Master needs to uh, needs to uh, come in between and say that how they can reduce their time duration. Okay, so 8 hours sprint planning for a 1 month sprint. This thing you will need to keep in mind, and your Scrum team uh, completely discuss this is in this sprint planning. And Scrum team includes Scrum Master, product owner, and developers. Product owner is the one who initiates, who tells the sprint goal. Okay. Now, what is the next event? Next event is daily scrum. Okay. Many companies are having daily stand-up meetings, DWSM. Okay. So very, very same to that, daily stand-ups or daily scrum. This is maximum 15 minutes. So time boxing is 15 minutes. As per sprint scrum guide, it is suggested that your team should have 10 or fewer members. Okay, 10 or fewer members. This is what is written there, right? So even if you are having 10 or even if you are having 5 members, the maximum time duration suggested is 15 minutes. And only developers attend this meeting. Only developers attend this meeting. See, Scrum Master and Product Owner can participate. Okay, participate means it is not mandatory, but they can come. Attendance means it is mandatory. I hope you are keep on marking these words. Attendance, attend. So developers needs to attend this meeting. Okay. So this is daily scrum, 15 minutes, and ideally it should happen at the same place to reduce complexity. See, just see if you are changing the location daily, let's say you are taking room number one someday room number two, then there will be some confusion. It will lead to wastage of time. And you remember that Scrum focuses upon lean thinking, and lean thinking reduces waste. So daily scrum should happen at the same place. Okay, then let's discuss the two more events which are there. Fourth one is sprint review. Okay, very important events. All five are very important. This is asked again and again in your examination. First of all, it is a place in where all people discuss about the how your sprint went. Also, you need to keep this thing in mind that yes, you can demo your product, you can demo your increment, but sprint review is not equivalent to demo. It is not equivalent to demo. You discuss how your sprint went. Okay. And time boxing, coming to time boxing, it is 4 hours for a 1 month sprint. For sprint lesser than 1 month, it is usually shorter. Okay, I hope that you will keep this thing in mind. Another thing that you need to keep this thing in mind, that key stakeholders can participate in this meeting. Key stakeholders are like business associates or any other people who would like to attend this meeting. They can come here. Okay, who are associated with the sprint or with the product, they can attend this meeting. Last is sprint retrospective, where the discussion is how our sprint was, how we can further improve ourselves. If is there any need to change a definition of done, right? And this is the meeting where your sprint closes. This is the last meeting. Sprint review is the second last meeting. Okay, I hope you are keeping this thing in mind. Let's write second last event instead of meeting. Meeting is not a word mentioned in Scrum guide. So this is the last event of your Scrum. And also you need to keep this thing in mind that all events are mandatory. You cannot say that, okay, we are not having a sprint retrospective or we are not having a sprint review. Okay, you cannot have, oh, see, whatever you are doing in your organization is another thing. But this is something which is mandatorily mentioned in the Scrum guide, that you need to follow these 5 events. You need to follow artifacts and commitments, right? These are mandatory. What is the time boxing? See, each event is time boxed. You have already seen. Sprint is 1 month. Sprint planning 8 hours for 1 month is 1 month sprint, right? Sprint daily scrum was 15 minutes, okay, and sprint review was 4 hours. Sprint retrospective is, what do you think? It is 3 hours for 1 month sprint. 3 hours for 1 month sprint. And for sprints which are shorter than 1 month, it is usually shorter. Okay, it is usually shorter. So that's all I have to tell you about events. If there is any doubt, please mention it in the comment section. I will be happy to answer your questions. Thank you.